Hi, and welcome to our third annual holiday hop. It's a holiday collab with me and a few of my friends, Sylvia at UMEFPP, Melissa at Practically Creative, and Dawn at My Quilt Projects. And the theme is Vintage Holiday. I started by folding a kitchen towel in half. Let's see, lengthwise. Oh, don't cut like that. That's wrong. So I don't know how long hanging towels have been around. A while. So I went with hanging towels. It makes me very ashamed of myself every time I see it. Okay, so I'm gonna set up for the pleats. I use Taylor's chalk because it washes right out. I'm folding it edge to edge, marking the center, then folding the edge to the mark I made, marking the center, the fold that I just made. Then I'm doing it one more time. Edge to the mark, mark the fold. Shampoo, rinse, repeat on the other side. I don't know why I should that again. To make sure I was paying attention to myself, who knows? Then you move one mark to the center. And another mark to the center, and this is the raw edge. The finished edge is at the other end. And the back of the towel is facing up when I mark this. And then the side of the towel to the mark, and I'm going to clip it. Clips are easier to get off the bulk. In past videos, my next step after I've got this clipped is to do a stay stitch across the top of it. I'm skipping that. Save some time. This fabric is very thin, and I thought I would try an alternative to batting or something like this. This is a craft fuse by Pellon 808. I don't know that I like it. I had trouble getting it to adhere to my fabrics, probably operator error, but I did like how stiff it made these toppers. That was very nice, and that's what I was going for, besides to reinforce this extremely thin fabric. I don't know about you, but fabric from Walmart is hit and miss. I've gotten some really nice quality pieces in the cuts by the yard, and I've gotten some really thin pieces. Now this craft fuse says, it may say steam on it. That may be where I went wrong, because I'm not putting water in this thing. I don't do that. I'm not doing it. I put the fuse underneath. I put my fabric on top. I'm using a wet pressing cloth. Like I said, it may say use steam on it. Didn't do that. That probably could have helped. But this is just extra. My first towels I did not make like this, but I wanted the topper to be more stiff. And I didn't want to use batting. I didn't want the softness of the batting, I guess. And I had this, I was going to use it for boxes. I was just thinking, what's something heavier that I've already got? This is what I had. You could use any interfacing you've got and double or triple it to make it as stiff as you want. This is single-sided fusible. You want to make sure the fuse side, which is bumpy, is facing the wrong side of your fabric. The right side of the towel facing up. Directional fabric at the top, the raw edge of the towel. I'm going to go in about a ½ inch out. Okay, I'm going to go in a ½ inch. Clip this. I'm going to do it on this side. Put one in the middle because they like to shift. Or if you got it all in your right hand, it's all in the right hand. Now I'm going to line up my edges and grab that. We call this a towel burrito. Like when you make a pillow and you make the pillow burrito. This is the towel burrito. Silly. The more even this edge is when I fold it over, the nicer it will look in the end. And I turn it over. Take that 1/2 inch. And I'm going to back stitch there. It doesn't want to stay even when I do that, but I have ways. I'm going to change my stitch to 3
For this part, I'm just using the edge of my J presser foot, which I think is the universal presser foot on the brother, to judge how far my seam is coming in on this. And I just want to make sure to catch all that fabric as it goes through.
You need the seam tape. Back stitch a few times. Cut those threads off right there. And I'll cut these threads off. Hanging Christmas towels. That makes me happy. I've lost my trash can. It doesn't make me so happy. And then we're going to turn it out and hope that I remembered right. I decided I wanted them stiffer. Did I say that? I think I said that. Look at that. That is adorable all on its own. And these are already wanting to turn in because we turned them in a 1/2 inch. So when you turn, oops, go to the top, turn that in and give it a pull, everything tries to turn in for you. If you want to measure it, you can. Right side of the towel, picture is up. We're happy with that. See how simple that is? Easy peasy. I'm not even measuring that. I'm just turning this in and pinching it. Okay, whatever. This is 6 inches. And it's straight all the way down. Don't question. Just accept that it worked. Isn't that going to be pretty? It has birds and acorns. I want the acorns on the sides of the birds. I want the birds facing upright, because why would I not make this a little bit more fiddly? That's probably what my problem was. My stitch was too long. 1/4 inch. This up, pull this out, just leaving it under the thread under my foot, dropping it down.
I guess I should have said, these are the 2 5-inch squares I'm using, right sides together.
Back stitch, don't back stitch. I changed my stitch to a 1.6, so you know it's not going nowhere. This one I've already done this to once. I want to make sure that I'm cutting the acorns and not the birds. And I'm just pushing the seam whichever way it wants to go. It seems to want to go out, so that's what I'm doing.
And now we have another band. Now I can either make a tube and turn it out, or get two bands out of one piece by cutting it in half and putting another fabric in back of it, which I'm thinking I might do. 5 inches, 2.5 is down the middle. I probably could have folded it in half and cut it with scissors, but I don't cut with scissors a whole lot. See how big of a piece I need in my interfacing. These don't need interfaced because they're cheap fabrics. They need interfaced because I like the sturdiness. I'm cutting that 2.5 by 8 inch interfacing, and I'm gonna cut it one full sheet, put all my bands that I'm doing on it, and then subcut and cut them down because they were 10 inches. And I don't know what happened to the math in my head. I cut them down actually before I did this, and it's like, that's not right. That's not enough. So I trimmed them again. These will be 2.5 by 8 inches when I'm done making these before we sew the band together. And you'll notice I'm using different fabrics. I made like almost a dozen of these, y'all. I can't make one at a time when I know I've got a dozen to make. If you see me changing fabrics and weird stuff like that, that's what it is. I've just made several. And maybe I forgot to hit record, so it's going to show something different. Once again, I'm using a wet pressing cloth in my iron. I count to about 20, and that's about how long it takes for that pressing cloth to get dry. And that's how I know to move the iron. Oh, that one's a little sideways. That's okay. I have to take off some of the ends anyway. Fit right. If you're still here, you've noticed I'm using a ridiculous amount of overlays on my clips because Christmas comes once a year. It makes me happy. I love them. Thank you for sticking around. Now remember, I'm cutting for multiples at a time, so you only need 1 2.5 by 8 inch strip for this backing, and this is going to be the backing of my bands. I had a template that was 2.5 by 8 inch, but then I found a ruler at Missouri Star that was 2.5 by 8 inch, so I no longer need the template. Iron before you cut, you'll be happier with your cuts. That being said, do as I say, not as I do. You know me, why not make things more complicated? So yeah, I'm using directional fabric for the front and the back, which just means that I have all this facing the same direction. When I lay these down, all my other fabrics on top of them will have the top also facing away from me. Did that make sense? And I'm clipping them so we can get them stitched. I'm using my seam tape on this one. You can use your seam tape or your 1/4 inch foot, and I'm just stitching a 1/4 inch on both of the long sides. And yes, I'm chain stitching because, like I said, almost a dozen. So after I do the one side, I'll just flip them right around. I won't even cut my thread, take the clips off, and do the other side. And yeah, more chain stitching. I did speed this up because with the amount that I was doing, it kind of gives you a more realistic view of how long this takes. I mean, this is less than 30 minutes altogether for one. A lot less. Now I'm reaching inside and pushing one end through the other, except for I'm not going to do it like that because I got these fancy hemostats I got out of the fishing aisle at Walmart. And I'm going to reach in, clip the other end, preferably with the interfacing. I'm less likely to rip my fabric that way, and pull it through. This is a lot easier on your hands than trying to do it the way I initially showed I was going to. This is one of those purple things. I'm using the flatter side to straighten out that seam.
If you put it kind of in between the seams and rub it down the inside of the seam, it helps straighten that seam out. And then you can iron them down. I'm trying to roll my seams so they're not overlapping and puckering right there. Just laying it down and pulling that bodkin, I don't know, purple thing down it. That seemed to work really well for me. Probably easier on your hands that way. And now we top stitch, which means maybe about 1/8. There's usually a point on my foot that I can pick, and that's where I want my fabric to line up at. But top stitch the long sides. And yes, I'm top stitching. I think right here I realized that I was using a 1.6 length on my stitch, and I wanted to bump that up to a 2 or 2.5 on this machine. I like it better. It's a little bit longer. I'm going to do it again with the cardinals. Okay. Go this way. Put your tops together, then flip that down. Do that again. I'll take those out. Top. Right side of towel. Top of towel. Right sided band. Top of band. Flip it over. Pull it down here. Put it in. That feels even to me. I'm going to get it as snug as you can with the top. That fold. It's kind of difficult from this angle. I was trying to show you. I'm starting just below where I've got the band and holding that band firmly against the fold. And I'm going to take a couple back stitches, but only a couple because it looks bad if you do more than like 2, 3 back and then 2, 3 forward. As can I know? And then also over the band, stop, back stitch the top of the band a little bit. I don't know that this is necessary, but it's what I do. And then I'll top stitch, which means about 1/8 across. And apparently decided to top stitch or back stitch there again. It was an I can see or you could see moment. But I'm trying to poke that band about a 1/2 inch into that opening, and I did that on both sides. Just trying to line it up as straight as I can get it on the inside, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Then I'll go ahead and finish my top stitch. Band is firmly at the fold, pushed up to the top. If it slips, I can just tuck it back in a little bit right here. And they do that on me from time to time. All the way at the top. That fold. About a 1/2 inch. Fold it over and top stitch. Back stitch at the top and at the lower part because this handle is going to get a lot of pulling. That feels consistent. See that crease that I just made? That feels consistent. these fabrics are lined up. It's on top of your bar, it's okay. It's easier if it's not, but you know. Get all the fabrics? Yes, we did. Over, threads out of the way, over stitch that, and then back stitch. It's easier if I go slow and only do 2 or 3 stitches at a time. It doesn't leave quite the mess. Wrong side. Wrong side of the towel. Take the towel end through the bottom. I don't know if you can consider these vintage, but I sure enjoyed making them, and I enjoy gifting them. I think people really enjoy getting them. So check out the Vintage Collab with all of us. I'll put links below for what I use and the other content creators' channels. I hope you enjoyed my part of the collab. Don't forget to check out my friends, Dawn at My Quilt Projects, Sylvia at UMEFPP, and Melissa at Practically Creative. I hope you have happy holidays, Merry Christmas, take care, and especially this time of year, be the light you hope to see in others.